Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Doc's live webinar on Microsoft Flow. Again, we'd like to apologize for the technical difficulties we had this morning with Skype and having to switch over to Ring Central, but we're happy that you will all be able to make it today. So today's webinar will be conducted by myself, Eddie Harrington, and my colleague, Brandon Kittredge. For today's agenda, I will first describe a brief introduction about Doc and some of our capabilities, and then Brandon, one of our Microsoft specialists, will guide you through an informational demonstration on how to use Microsoft Flow to automate business processes by creating workflows to connect with over 200 plus apps out of the box. After Brandon's completed his demonstration, we will then open up the session for Q&A, and if you think of any questions along the way at any point during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and one of our experts will answer them for you promptly. Okay? So, first off, a little bit about us here at Doc. We're based in Jacksonville, Florida. We're a Microsoft Gold certified partner specializing in SharePoint. We've been in business over 17 years, so just shy of 2 decades. We started out building SharePoint completely custom from the ground up for companies, but we realized that many businesses couldn't wait 6 to 10 months, so we came up with Doc, a pre-built intranet solution that can be deployed within 4 to 6 weeks and still be surprisingly customizable. We've worked with businesses of all sorts to establish an intranet solution built on SharePoint that will help them meet their mission critical goals. So, Doc will help your business thrive in a sense of communication and collaboration. You'll empower your team to work together using modern tools that'll help you automate business processes, keep employees informed on the latest news, announcements, and promotions going on within your company. You'll also be able to share information at your fingertips to employees across the globe in order to increase employee productivity and ensure that your employees are staying informed even when they're on the go. With Doc, you'll also be able to manage your projects, tasks, and team schedules and monitor the progress. You'll be able to automate your task assignments and streamline the monitoring process via the creation of workflows. You'll also be able to provide and assign training to all your employees and set reminders for employees to participate, create, store, and even share training content. You'll be able to generate training reports and search for FAQs. Now, many businesses today realize how important collaboration is in the workforce. With today's new generation of leaders in technologies, the marketplace is starting to define itself by the ultra mechanized sense of collaboration. Employees are becoming more empowered by how much they actually have a say in the business and define their roles in the company and their workplace, happiness as well, by how much value they bring to the company. Here at Doc, we've helped businesses create that vision of vibrant and dynamic collaborative innovation. We've utilized out-of-the-box, custom-developed SharePoint features to design the sense of business productivity and connectiveness that they desire. We design custom SharePoint intranet solutions that fit your specific business needs to help you stay connected, secure, and competitive within the market, no matter what type of devices you're using to reach your workforce goals. Now, Doc has made it its mission to help you increase communication and collaboration throughout the workforce, regardless of location, department, role, or any other barriers that may occur. We've simplified it so that everyone can work together with no problems. As you can see here, there are many other value propositions that Doc can bring to your business, but the last key component of Doc is the quick deployment and adoption. Doc provides the quick and efficient turnaround you'd expect from an out-of-the-box solution, but provides the customizable features of a custom-built solution. Doc being a pre-built intranet solution, deployment time to have the site up and running and creating value for your business usually runs anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks, depending on your specific requirements. The adoption rate with Doc skyrockets through the roof as we train our clients how to use, edit, maintain, and change the site. As a part of our unlimited support, we make sure your employees know how to use the site to the max and to ensure that your business productivities will shoot through the roof. And because the site is so simple to use, Now, here's a brief preview of the suite of products that we offer. I'm not going to go over all of these in great detail just because today's more about Microsoft Flow, not Doc. But if you want more information about any of these products, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at mydoc365.com or, reach out to us via the chat with any specific questions. Now, outside of our pre-built intranet solution, we have additional products such as InstaExpense, InstaProject, which are available as web and mobile apps for users to utilize while they're on the go. InstaExpense is a fast and user-friendly way to create and submit and approve or deny expense reports. InstaProject is a mobile app we've developed for project management and allows users to update, archive, and monitor projects and tasks. Our HRMS solution is great. It allows HR departments to complete and utilize all functions that an HR department needs, like onboarding, offboarding, and asset tracking. We also offer a LMS, CMS, and CRM add-ons as well. So here we have the landing page. This is where employees are all going to start their day. Everything you see here can be fully customized to meet your needs, specifications, and branding. This area right here is the carousel module. It allows you to display vital information that you want your employees to see, whether it's a video or a quick update or anything in between. Underneath that, we have the alerts bar. This is where you can make sure employees are up to date on anything within the company, whether it's a location, closing due to weather, or general updates. This is also fully customizable. Then over here to the right, you have the My Tools section. Now, this is where you can add and specify which tools you want each user to have. So it's customizable based on the user. That way, everybody from different departments aren't seeing tools that they're not going to use on a daily basis. This is beneficial because it provides all the important tools for users in a quick, maneuverable way. Now, under that, we have the upcoming events section. This is all the upcoming events for the company, and these events can all be quickly added to the user's Office 365 Outlook calendar. They just have to click the download link right there, just like that. And then just below that, we have the Let's Celebrate section. This pulls from your Active Directory and displays based on those settings. This is great for communication within the organization and really puts a face to the name and allows you to celebrate your employees. Now, also, you can see here, we've integrated social media into the site. We've placed it here on the homepage, but you can integrate it anywhere on the site that's fit to your needs. You'll also notice that it's integrated with multiple feeds along with Yammer. If you're unfamiliar with Yammer, think of Facebook but for work. Yammer is a communication tool that allows you to interact with each other in real time regardless of where you are. Now, just to the left of this, we have the news and announcements. It's meant for less urgent information, and this is where you can post anything you want your users aware of regarding company information or general updates. You can pre-schedule posts to be added, as well as determine a date for them to be removed, so you can publish and unpublish as you like, which is great. And then it's based, you can select this if it's based around a specific date or topic, for example, like Memorial Day or July 4th or things like that. Now, you'll also see we have the tiles here. These are all customizable in terms of, what links you have here for quick links. The three that we're gonna go over today are gonna be employee directory, policies and procedures, and then the employee handbook. Now, for the employee directory, this is a way for you to be able to quickly look up and access contact information for your employees. It can be displayed in multiple ways and allows you decide how to display it and what information is or isn't displayed. Another function is that it offers the searching capabilities where you can look up employees by location, department, or job title, which is really pretty easy and makes it fast and easy for users to use. Another great resource that's here that's easily digestible for your users, which improves productivity, is the employee handbook. It's been transformed from a clunky PDF and integrated to an integrated page, which is easily digestible and where users can quickly find policies or information they're searching for just by using keywords and topics. The third title I want to talk to you about is going to be the policies and procedures. So we've created a tagging capability. When a document is added or edited, you create a tag when you put it into the procedures tile here. And what happens is it can be tagged by keyword phrase or department. We've done it by department here just because it makes users, a little bit more digestible for when they're trying to use it. So that way, whenever they're looking for a specific document or topic, they can quickly search and all the policies and procedures related to that tag will just populate here. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Brandon, who'll be providing you with a demonstration on how to better utilize Microsoft Flow.
Hey everyone, let me share my screen real quick. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Flow just to give you a quick background, and then we'll go into a demo, and then I'll talk a little bit more about Flow. Okay, so now more than ever, businesses are turning to technology to accomplish goals and meet their needs, and business models must continually evolve to respond to the technology-driven market, and organizations need the ability to update products and process rapidly. So Flow helps accomplish this by making automation simple and efficient for all users, even outside of IT. There's an incredible variety of tools and functions Flow can be used for. I personally use Flow whenever I have a specific need for automation or data manipulation almost all the time because there's always some way to accomplish what I'm looking for. So now that you have a quick background on it, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit about what this can do. So to start with, let me go in here. Now I'm going to show you how to use Flow with SharePoint first. So I have these two lists right here. I have Flow webinar files and I have webinar logos. Now let's say I have users that are uploading logos into this list, and whenever they upload a logo into this list, I want it to also transfer over to this Flow webinar files list, library, sorry, because I want to be able to keep track of all my data in one place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a workflow that's going to say whenever anything's created in this library, it's going to go right into this library also so that I can manage my files more easily. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Flow on your Microsoft tenant. You can just go to flow.microsoft.com with your login. And I like to go to My Flows and just do New from in there and click Create from Blank. And you can search for connections right in there. You can also do templates. I'll talk a little bit more about that later because there's a lot of great stuff that you can do with that. But right now we're just going to search for connectors, and I'm going to be working with files, and I'm going to be doing it whenever a file is created, and it's going to be with SharePoint. So I'm going to say File and look for that. When a file is created in a folder, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. So what it's asking for me from here is it wants the site that the folder is on, and then it wants me to choose which folder. So all you have to do is copy the link to the folder all the way down to the site that it's on. Go back in here, and you're going to want to do custom value. Now, there are some times where your link is already in here, and you can use that. It's pretty convenient. But typically, I use custom value just to be safe. And then under here, it will show me all the folders that are on that site. So I'm looking for webinar logos right here. And now I want this to, whenever that happens, this is saying when it's created, it needs to go in here. So I'm going to make a new step. And now I want to recreate this file in here. So I need to do create file. Whoops. And give that a second. And in SharePoint, right here, create file. This folder is on the same site, so I'm going to use that same web address. Again, go to enter custom value, paste that in there, and then if you click on this little folder icon, it'll show you all the folders on your site. Once I'm in there, I can look for Flow webinar files. And then it wants the name of the file and the content. Lucky for us, Flow will remember all of that stuff from the file that was created. So I can just do file name and file content. Now I'll go ahead and save this. And one of the cool things about Flow is when you have a flow that you've just created like this, and this is a really simple one, you can click test and you perform the trigger action, and it will wait for you to do whatever this is waiting to do, and it will walk you through what it did for that specific time, just to make sure that you've got it right. So let's walk through the process. My users are going to upload logos here. I've got a couple of them right here, some doc logos. I'll go ahead and upload them there. And now if we go back to our flow, this list should be updating with those files. It looks like it ran successfully, and it looks like this triggered it properly. So it'll give us some details on that. It looks like it's not wanting to load right now. That's fine. If we refresh this page, they should show up in there. And there. Again, it's really easy. That's something that could be a game changer for some people if they really need to organize their files a specific way. And there's all kinds of ways that you can do little things like this and just have it really make your data process super easy. So that's a really simple example. Now, what if you wanted to connect this to a Power App or something, and you had a Power App and you wanted some sort of thing with Flow to connect to that? So I have a little app right here that actually is connected to this Flow webinar files list. And all it does is it takes the title of that and it lets you click on it and change the name and then update it. None of these have names right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and rename them real quick. And this is just a simple little app I made. You can learn more about how to use Power Apps in our Power Apps webinars, or we have some SharePoint tip videos. And some of those videos have some information on how to connect Power Apps to SharePoint, kind of like what this app is doing. But for now, I have all these renamed. And what I want to do with this app is when I rename this to something else, I want it to email my user and tell me that the name has been changed. Because let's say I have different users in my organization using an app like this, I want to know when they update my data, and I want to know when they do it through my app. So what I'm going to do is, Power Apps does have a way where you can go into here and click Create a Flow, but all that does is actually just take you to the Flow site anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to where we were with this, and actually have a different tab open. That way we don't have to run into this. It's odd that that didn't load yet, but that's all right. I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. So under My Flows, I'm going to do New and Create from Blank. I believe you can also create a new one from Home. And search for connectors. And the Power Apps ones are easy because there's really only one connector you need to use, and it's the Power Apps connector. Because whenever you make this flow, you're basically just going to ask Power Apps for whatever information you need. So let's remind ourselves, what we want this to do is email me when one of these is changed. So ultimately what this is going to be doing is sending an email. So let me search for that action. Send an email, and I'm just going to do it through Outlook, which is another connector you can use. And I'm going to make it go to the current user that I'm using right now, which is this email. And for the subject, let's say for the subject I want it to be the file name of the file, and for the body I want it to say, so I'll ask for the file name in Power Apps, and for the body I'll say item has been changed, new title, and then I wanted to ask in Power Apps again. I'm not going to click this one because that's going to be the same thing as this. I don't want the file name, I want the new title. So now it's going to say item has been changed, new title, and it's going to tell me what the new title is. And I'll put that in quotations just to be clear. So the flow side is really easy for this. All you got to do is just do that. And now all I have to do is just call this flow in Power Apps and give it this information. But the thing about using flow in Power Apps is you can't just instantly call it. You have to add the flow to the app. So in order to do that, you'll start from wherever you are in the app. If you go to Action and then Flows, you should see all of your Power Apps flows in here. Now this flow doesn't have a name yet. I'm going to go ahead and rename it so that it's a little easier to find. I'm going to name it Flow Webinar Power Apps Email. And I'll save that. Now if I go back to this, I'm going to close that out and see if it refreshes. And it might not. You might have to save the app and refresh it. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And once I do that, it should show up in there. And it's really simple after that. I just have to add it through that list of workflows that are on my tenant. And I can add it right into my app, anywhere in my app. And as long as I pass in the right information to email, I will be able to use that workflow. So we're back in our app. Once it's done loading, you can click on Action, Flows. I'm looking for Flow Webinar Power Apps Email. That's this one. Something that I mention anytime I do something like this in a video or webinar is that whenever you add a workflow to an app, it's going to add the workflow to your on-visible property or something like that of whatever screen. You can just undo that. It'll still stay in your app. It won't say it's associated with that screen, but if you go into your connections, it'll show it in there. And the way that you check your connections is View, Data Sources, and it's loading. But if we look in here, we have the list that I had already in there, and we have the flow now. So what I want to do is I want it so that when someone clicks on this button to update the title, before it changes it, or after it changes it, I want it to send an email. And I have right where I'm supposed to send the email coded in here. So what I'm going to type in is the name of the flow, and it'll already give you a suggestion for what to type in. So it's just whatever the flow's name is, .run. And what I'm going to pass in here is the file name for the subject line that I wrote and the new title. Now, the way that I have this coded, it's a little funky, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that in here. But I assure you that what I'm doing is just passing in the file name for the item and the title that has been changed. So it looks like it's trying to error. Yes, I just forgot a semicolon. That's fine. So now that I have that all typed in, again, it's really simple to put in your app. You just type in whatever the flow's name is .run and then pass in these parameters that you need. And whatever one you put in first is going to be the first one. Whatever one you put in second is going to be the second one. After I do that, I can save this. And I'll test it. So I want this to be named back to logo 1. And when I update the title, all right, it looks like it renamed in the list. Let's see if my flow worked. Let me save it just in case. It says it succeeded, so it sent me an email telling me what that is. Let's check my Outlook. I believe I have that open. It's a little hard to get to with this, but there it is right here. Item has been changed, new title, logo 1, and the subject is the file name. So that's just another simple example of how to use this and how to connect it with things like Power Apps. There's all kinds of connectors you can use. You don't have to use SharePoint. You don't have to use Power Apps. But I wanted to give an example of connecting it to a data source like SharePoint, and I wanted to give another example of using multiple connectors like Power Apps and Outlook, just to show how easy it is to do all of that, and that really anyone can do this as long as you know what you want to accomplish and have a goal in mind. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to this and give a little bit more information. If I go here, there are If you're unsure where to get started, there are all kinds of templates you can make and edit to get the hang of it. And there's a good chance that if it's something simple that you want to do, there's probably already a template that's specifically for that. And I'll actually show you, if you go in here, this is just like the starting page for the templates. And this is before you even like search for anything. It already has like a whole bunch of pre-built ones. And I mean, if you think of something, there's probably a template for it. So back to this. It's pretty clear that Flow is a powerful technology, and technology like Flow and Power Apps enables non-IT employees to be something like power users in your company. And that can all happen while your developers can, in the background, use tools like Azure Functions and API management to handle the more complex tasks, or the most complex of tasks. And all these things, they integrate with Office 365, whether it's modifying SharePoint lists with Power Apps or adding new data to the same location automatically through Flow. Everything also has Dynamics 365 support, allowing for one common data model to be used across your entire organization. And with these integrations and the power and functionality offered through tools like Flow, data processes can become one unified experience. Also, in the background of all of this, your data is stored properly and securely to ensure that it's up to all the business standards that you desire. So you don't have to worry about any sort of issues with security or auditing or anything like that. It's all in there. Office 365 is typically really good about that. So it's simple to see why this is effective, and today there are tens of thousands of companies using Flow already, and also Power Apps, with over 160,000 users being able to contribute to that process. And I think that's really just amazing. If you're currently using Office 365, you might already have access to Flow. In fact, it actually does come with Office 365, this first plan. And regardless of that, there's a couple options to choose from either way. But if you're unsure, you can get started at this website. But other than that, that's most of what I have to talk about with Flow. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions and answers. And feel free to ask about anything, whether it's more complex or more simple than that. There's really all kinds of things you can do with Flow. And I've done things as simple as that, transferring files from one list to another, and as complicated as using an HTTP request to get a user from a hidden list. There's so much functionality available with Flow. It's a really cool tool. It didn't automatically add a send email placeholder. That's actually just a comment that I put in the code when I made it. Yeah, when you add the thing to the Power Apps, it'll just add the Flow as kind of like a new piece of code that you can use. But other than that, it doesn't really add anything else. Yeah, no problem. Hey, you said, do you know if there's some plugin or custom action from Power Apps enabling the print of a module in PDF or similar? I haven't worked a whole lot with PDFs specifically in Power Apps. I know there's a PDF viewer, but I'm unsure about printing PDFs. As far as that goes, you might want to look into maybe saving it as like an image or something, and trying to print it that way. But that does sound like something that's going to be really complex from what I've heard from Power Apps. So, I mean, mostly what I could tell you is that it's probably going to be a pretty difficult solution. Can you show an example with Dynamics CRM 365? I don't have anything pulled up to be able to do that right now. And I also haven't worked with it with Dynamics specifically a lot. I do it a lot with SharePoint. So I'm sorry, I can't I'm not really equipped to do that right now. Trying to figure out how to use Flow for elevated privileges. Do you have any experience in that? So would that be like SharePoint permissions, or are you talking about like Azure Active Directory? SharePoint permissions, okay. There are some things that you can do with SharePoint groups. The first thing that comes to my mind, if you're not able to find anything with Flow, is HTTP requesting, which sounds really complicated, and it is a little complicated, but that sounds like the most practical way to do it from my experience. Okay, how do you trigger a circular approval based on the modified time metadata field? I send an approval to many people. Some start to approve, but one changes the document. I want it to register the approval to all because the document changed. If one of the approvers changes it again, I want it to trigger again until they all approve. All right. Let me take a second to try to get that question. On the modified time metadata field, send an approval to many people. I want it to retrigger the approval to all because the document changed. Oh, okay, so you want it to kind of restart the flow if the document changes. You could explore doing that through like a workflow that says like when an item is modified or changed, then it would go through the flow, and if it gets changed again, you can fail the flow, and when it gets changed, it would run the flow again. There's definitely going to be a way to do that. It's going to be a pretty complex flow, but I'm thinking you're going to have something like leading you back to the beginning of the flow, whatever you do. But that is a good question. I wouldn't be able to answer that like in full detail right now, just because I don't have a whole lot of time to like think about the best solution for that. But I can tell you that you can try to look into like restarting the flow if it like fails or something, like changing it if it's like modified or something, or starting it again if it's modified, something like that. Okay, MS Flow pricing says 750 runs per month, not 2,000. I don't know a whole lot about that. That might actually be an old slide too, so I apologize if I give misinformation. Oh, okay. But it might be 2,000. I'll have to look into that though. Okay, can you tell me if there's a possibility to look up columns in Power Apps? Oh, to use lookup columns in Power Apps. There should be. You might run into some problems with data delegation. The way that Power Apps works is if you're trying to do something that's too complex for SharePoint to be able to do itself, it has to pull the data into Power Apps first. And Power Apps limits that data to 500 records by default, but you can change it to 2,000 records. But for that, you can get pretty creative in ways to get around like the data delegation, but that's the main thing about it is I'm pretty sure you can use lookup columns, but you're probably going to run into some delegation issues. All right. Oh, okay, yeah, I see that. It is 2,000. Can you build multiple steps in a flow based on user activity? If so, is there a way to easily view what step the flow is at in the process? Yeah, let me show you real quick. If I go into this flow that succeeded, for a flow like this, if it's still running, instead of saying succeeded or failed or anything, it'll say running, and you can click on that and it will show you where in the flow it's going. As for the part where you build multiple steps in a flow based on user activity, yeah, you would just do like send an email with options. You can have it based on like what option they choose. It will do something or whatever. And if it's still waiting for them to choose an option, it'll be running. And you could do that type of stuff as much as you want. It's really just about which action you choose that gives ability for user activity. All right. Yeah, okay. Thank you guys for clearing that up. All right, is there anything else or anything I missed? Do you know a way to cancel a running workflow from within SharePoint? I don't know about doing that from within SharePoint. You can definitely cancel it in Flow. I mean, you could have it so that something runs like simultaneously in the workflow. So like, say you had like your flow right here, and then you had an action here, and you had a simultaneous action. You could have it so that you have to say yes in order for that to work somewhere in like a SharePoint column, and then just change it to no. That's a kind of dirty way of doing it, but that's the quickest way I can think of to do it if you didn't want to get too complex with it. So again, what that would look like is you just like have whatever your actual workflow that you want happening there. And if something's not working, you just like go in and change something in SharePoint that's running concurrently in the flow, and have that change it so that it's fails the flow entirely. And then that would be a way to do it. I can't tell you that's the best way, but that's the easiest way I can think of off the top of my head to do that. I could show you what I mean too a little bit, but like you would just do add a parallel branch and then have it so that both of these have to pass in order for it not to fail. Anything else?
Hey Sylvia, yeah, the webinar is being recorded, and it's going to be sent out to everyone who attended the webinar today, as well as those who signed up for the original Skype webinar that couldn't make it due to the last minute changes.
Do you have a really good flow or power-ups resource outside of MS Forms that you use when trying to build new ones? That's a good question. Because usually I I actually do mostly work with the flow and power-ups forms. I've just gotten really good at like kind of Googling my way around that. But for that, there's some specific people in the forums that do pretty good jobs. I know there were some things that like I would have never found out unless I saw some posts from a guy named like Paul Colmsey. But other than that, I can't think of any other resources that I use for researching it. because there is a lot of documentation out there, and if you search long enough, you can usually find something on it. But I understand that it's not everyone's like goal to search for a really long time to try and find their answer. So I apologize for that. I will say though, we do have some videos and tips on how to do some stuff if you want to check those out if you haven't seen them already. Um, some things that I did on how to do Power Apps. I did 2 or 3 videos on that, and I've done a video or 2 on Flow also, I think, and we've had a couple webinars in the past too. So definitely check those out if you haven't. You might be able to find something new. Um, at least I would hope, if I've done a good job. But yeah. Yeah, no problem. Identity flows where from a Microsoft form, you are writing that information to a SharePoint list. Okay. I usually don't have to use flows for that type of thing a lot. That's something that I like to do in Power Apps. So I'll make a form in Power Apps and just submit it through there. I do a little work in Power Apps, so that's why though. But if you wanted to do some, I'm pretty sure with Microsoft Forms, you could probably have like a flow that connects to that when the form is like submitted and writes it. But I don't have a whole lot of experience with that particular. So, okay, yeah, check it out and see what you can do.
Alrighty, everyone. Great job, Brandon. So that's all we have for you today. If you would like to dive deeper on how Doc can help you increase your employee collaboration and automate your business processes or any other general questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at www.mydoc365.com or contact our sales coordinator, Heather, whose information is displayed on the screen and is going to be displayed here shortly in the chat again as well. Okay. Like I previously said, the recording of this webinar is going to be sent out to everyone who attended. So if you did join late, or if you just want to have it for your own personal use for later, you're going to get a free recording of this webinar as well. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you guys for attending.